What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at every single midfielder who's been linked with a move to Arsenal. We know it's a position that we needed to strengthen. We've lost Granit Xhaka. There was speculation for a while about Thomas Partey leaving. Doesn't seem like he is now. Obviously, we've brought in Declan Rice, a fantastic British transfer record signing for Arsenal. Exactly the right kind of player for us. And Kai Havertz, apparently, to play in that midfield position vacated by Granit Xhaka. But there is still plenty of speculation around players who may come in. I'm going to go through this list, as I said, of every single player, see where they're up to and see if there's still any chance that they could sign for us. The first player I'm going to talk about is Youri Tielemans. Feels like he's somebody that has been linked with Arsenal for years. Last summer, there was huge speculation. It was widely reported that we'd made bids, firm bids. In the end, those bids not accepted, and what it looked like we were going to do was wait while he saw out the last year of his contract to become a free agent, where we would pounce. In the end, what seems to have happened is that we are further along in the process than we expected to be, and we kind of outgrew Youri Tielemans, who has since made a free transfer to Aston Villa. Now, he is an undoubtedly talented player, but going against him in the last year was his kind of under par performances for Leicester, who of course were relegated. I hope it works out for him at Aston Villa, but the question marks would be there, just how much impact can he have on a game? And is he a title-winning midfielder? Well, on the evidence of the last season, I would say not. The next person on the list, well, another Leicester player who was very much sought after, it seemed, by top clubs, ourselves, Newcastle, as well as some lower order teams that people have barely heard of, like Tottenham Hotspur. I am, of course, talking about James Maddison, who has made the transfer to Tottenham, turned his back on silverware. Now, he did win an FA Cup and a Community Shield whilst at Leicester. He was, along with Tielemans, someone they brought in to really elevate them to the next level. It didn't really happen. They had a difficult season. But James Maddison is the kind of player who really did make a difference. Now, if you listen to Spurs fans, he is one of the signings of the summer, far better than Declan Rice. I do think he's going to play well in that sort of attacking midfield position for Tottenham. But what can you do at a club that is cursed as Spurs are? The next player on the list, Adrien Rabiot. Here's another one that we've been linked with for year after year. Now, this summer, it was widely reported he'd be leaving troubled club Juventus, and PSG and Arsenal were apparently battling out for him. After a long sort of protracted negotiation with Juventus, he has decided that he's going to remain there, and so he will not now be moving. I think this will be the last time. I hope this is the last time we're linked with Adrien Rabiot. It just was one of those sagas that seems to have stretched on and on and on. Clearly, he was never that keen to come to Arsenal, and I think that we have a better midfield. Don't necessarily need him now in the same way. The next person on the list, İlkay Gündoğan, another free transfer, this one. Now, obviously the most successful captain in Manchester City's history. Really did everything they could to keep him. Pep Guardiola sees him as his best friend. They live next door to each other. They pulled out all the stops. But in the end, İlkay Gündoğan was made a really strong offer by Barcelona, who made him their must-have target of the summer. Really, he's been a really important player for Manchester City. His goals have made the difference in the run-in. It was his 2 goals that won them the FA Cup. It's hard for me to see how they're not going to miss İlkay Gündoğan, but he is now a Barcelona player. It was reported, because of his connection to Arteta, that he was seriously considering a move to Arsenal. Never really felt likely. I really wanted him to, but I think it's tough enough when you're leaving your best friend to go elsewhere. When he was asked in a press conference recently, Gündoğan did say that Pep had been really sad about it, but it softened the blow a little bit that it was his old club Barcelona that İlkay went to. Next up is Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. I really wished that he'd come to Arsenal. He's a fantastic box-to-box midfielder, one of the best players in Serie A. Never really won the silverware that his talent deserves. He's won one Coppa Italia. When it became clear he was leaving Lazio, it seemed like he wanted to kick his career on and go to a team that could win trophies. He has instead gone to Saudi Arabia. I don't know why he would pick oil-rich billionaires' playground, Saudi Arabia, but I wish him all the best. And it's a surprising one because he is only 28 years old. Now, I know there are other players, Neves, players that have gone to Saudi that are younger. This one surprised me a lot. There was huge speculation he was coming to Arsenal, and I kind of think it's a shame he's not. The next one on the list, Mason Mount. There was a lot of talk a couple of months ago, just before the start of the transfer window and during the transfer window, that we were seriously in for him, as were Liverpool apparently. Of course, he's now chosen to go to Manchester United, a really solid attacking midfield player. And it's caused quite a few ruffles amongst the Chelsea faithful because it's seen as a betrayal. I don't really get it, to be honest with you. They underpaid Mason Mount for years. You had to watch other players come in and earn more than him. Their contract negotiations fell apart quite quickly. And he was pilloried for the video he did saying goodbye to the Chelsea fans, not least because it was obviously filmed weeks before he actually went. He played against us in that really tedious game on Saturday night. I think it's going to take a little time to bed in, but he's undoubtedly a quality player. Manchester United need quite a lot to get them going, and I think he's a great signing for them. Next on my list, Xavi Simons. This is an interesting one for me because Xavi Simons grew up at La Masia, Barcelona Academy, a product of that academy, somebody who can play all across the midfield, has attacking verve, flair, guile, skill, could be a world beater, this young man. And he was at PSG, signed from PSG from Barcelona, didn't quite make it. They sold him to PSV, where he had a fantastic season managed by Ruud van Nistelrooy. When Ruud van Nistelrooy was sacked, he was asked whether he was going to commit his future to PSV, and he said he didn't know because he didn't know who the manager was going to be. It was widely reported that that PSG had negotiated a buyback clause, which meant they could have got him back for just 7 million euros. They bid for him to enact that clause when he was asked whether he wanted to go back there. It was just before Luis Enrique had taken over, and he said, I don't know who's going to be managing there either. But when Luis Enrique went to PSG, he made the decision that he was going to accept their transfer offer. And so they got a steal. For 7 million euros, they brought Xavi Simons back. However, he's back 5 days and they sent him out on loan to RB Leipzig for a season. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does at Leipzig. Obviously, Leipzig is one of the clubs in the world that has the best reputation for developing talent. Look forward to seeing what he can do for them in the coming seasons. But he was somebody that was very seriously linked with Arsenal. And sad to say, it didn't quite happen. The next one on the list, another player who's chosen to go to Aston Villa. Aston Villa certainly staking a claim for the dark horses of Premier League. Moussa Diaby. Now, this one is frustrating because Moussa Diaby has fantastic... this one's frustrating because Moussa Diaby would be great cover both on the left wing and the right wing. He is a competent, capable and very skillful attacking player who's been plying his trade at Bayer Leverkusen, was apparently holding out for an Arsenal offer that never materialised. Now, I can understand if we didn't go after Moussa Diaby because he didn't want to play second fiddle to Bukayo Saka, who would. Let's be honest, if you're a right winger, you're not getting in ahead of Saka, and on the left we've got Martinelli. But it seems like that wasn't the sticking point. It seems like Arsenal just cooled their interest in him. I'm really fascinated to see how he does at an Aston Villa side. Might be that we avoided signing a player who looks great on paper but doesn't quite do it. And we've had a few of those. Nicola Pepe, to name. It could be another Nicola Pepe. I don't really think so. I think he's going to have a great season at Aston Villa. He will get game time there, I'm sure. We come to one of my favourites on this list, Martin Zubimendi, deep-lying playmaker at Real Sociedad. A player highly sought after by Barcelona, who pulled out all the stops to get him. They see him as a natural successor to Busquets. But in an interview recently, he said, I have Inheriting Iramendi's number 4 motivates me more than Busquets' number 5. He is committed to Sociedad, a club he's been at since he was 12 years old. He's 24 now. He has one Copa del Rey under his belt already, and he seems determined to stay at Sociedad, and I love that. You know, this is one of the things that you don't see enough with all these players like Ibrahima Bamba going off to Qatar for the money. I'm not sure he's going for the money. Maybe he's going for the... But I don't think you see loyalty like this often enough. He is determined to stay at Sociedad, and I think he's making the right decision. You don't see this kind of thing often enough from young players, but he knows his mind, and if Barcelona come calling and Arsenal come calling and he's decided he's staying at Sociedad, then I wish him absolutely all the best. Now for another player who is still available, we are still linked with Gabri Veiga. He's at Celta Vigo. He actually scored the most goals from outside the box last season. Was outstanding against Barcelona, scored 2 goals. He's very strongly linked with Arsenal, but it's kind of gone cold in the last couple of weeks. He has tons of potential, there's no doubt about that. As does Romeo Lavia, who Man City let go, went to Southampton, obviously got relegated. But all of the talk has been about whether he would be a defensive midfielder that Arsenal would spring for. Mostly at the time where we thought Thomas Partey was definitely leaving. It doesn't look like he is now. One of the issues around Romeo Lavia is he's very young. He's quite raw still. He's not going to be an impact player this season, and so it'll probably take him a year or 2 to bed in, at which point you do kind of start to think, well, we've got Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri coming through who could play in that position. Certainly Miles could. And you don't really want to get in the way of them. The price tag for Romeo Lavia seems to be around 40 to 50 million, and now it looks like Liverpool are the strong favourites to sign him. But at this point, he's still a Southampton player. Then we get to somebody that we made a very surprising, huge bid for in January, Moises Caicedo, who at the time was earning £5,000 a week with Brighton. He's since signed a new contract, and they are in this deliciously protracted, argumentative and highly fractious transfer saga with Chelsea. He, in fact, didn't play in the friendly or relatively friendly game between Brighton and Chelsea on the weekend. I think ultimately Chelsea have made him their must-get signing of the summer, especially losing N'Golo Kante. They need a little bit of bite in that midfield. I really wanted to see us sign a Caicedo along with Rice in what was being called the Riceado transfer. However, I've kind of cooled on it. One of the reasons for that is he was really vocal when we made the bids for him, and kind of threw his toys out of the pram when Brighton wouldn't let him leave in January. Then he went on to say that he'd been a lifelong Man United fan when it looked like they were going to come in for him. Now he's kind of flirted with Chelsea. I honestly think that the price for a player like this, who's had one really solid season in the Premier League, is just too high. And I can see Moises Caicedo being a bit of a flop for Chelsea. But then, you know, Chelsea are that kind of club at the moment. Almost anyone could be a flop there. At this point, no, he's still a Brighton player. And Roberto De Serbi, when talking about it, said that he had no agreement with Caicedo, that he had no knowledge of and had made no agreement with him to allow him to leave this summer. And that for his opinion, he was very much still considering him a starter in the first 11 for the start of the season. So, wouldn't it be interesting if Caicedo doesn't go to Chelsea? Like I said, they really do need strength in that defensive midfield position. In the last few, what seems like days, might be about a week, Douglas Luiz is being talked about. Now, this was a player that we went hell for leather for last year and didn't get at the last minute. He was apparently really disappointed at it, but Aston Villa kept hold of him. He then signed a contract extension. Make no bones about it, this is a really good defensive midfielder. His stats, his numbers, his attitude, of course he scored against us as well last season. I would love to see us go after Douglas Luiz, really get a player like this in. Premiership proven, no nonsense, intelligent. But I don't know how much there is to this story at the moment. I think it could be one of those ones where people are looking around for anyone who's left, hasn't had a transfer yet, and throwing his name in the ring. There is supposed to be very serious interest, but whether that interest exists at Arsenal, even if Thomas Partey is staying, it'd be hard for me to see us spending the kind of money. Remember, he did sign a new contract, so you would be expecting Aston Villa to want to get as much as they can for him. Next one, Mohamed Kudus. Now this one, he is a kind of right-sided attacking player who has had a really great season at Ajax. He would be a great understudy to Bukayo Saka. Of course, like any other Ajax player, he's versatile. Now, this one is another player that Chelsea seem to be really interested in. I have no idea why. There surely is a point at which you don't need any more wingers. It seems like Chelsea are the kind of club that if Arsenal say they're in for someone, they kind of want him. So I don't know how seriously we're going after Mohamed Kudus, but it is something that has been talked about quite a lot recently. He is the current, currently the flavour of the... He's currently all over the transfer news. And finally, Jesper Lindström, Eintracht Frankfurt. Again, really good right-sided Danish player. There is speculation that we're in for him, but I really can't take it all that seriously when you think the asking price for him is around £50 million. When the asking price is €50 million. Certainly, I imagine we'd have to sell some players the other way. It's not a position that we're really that short of. And I don't personally... I can't see that one happening. A special mention, he was linked. Listen, this is probably my favourite of all of them. Yunus Musa, who was an Arsenal player, who played in the academy. He's now at Valencia. There is talk of him being transferred. He turned up to pre-season training, so the fitness training he was doing wearing an Arsenal kit. Fabrizio Romano has reported that there was strong interest in him bringing him back. Seems to have fizzled away. But Yunus, if you're watching this, once Arsenal, always Arsenal. Love it. I mean, you know, what if Kylian Mbappe turned up to training in an Arsenal shirt? The place would go crazy, right? That has been a comprehensive list of all of the players linked with Arsenal this summer transfer window. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, if you're a midfielder and you haven't been linked with Arsenal, I don't know what you've been doing wrong. Let me know if I've missed any. I really don't think I have, but you never know. So if there are players that you'd like to see on this list or somebody that you think would fit, I think it's pretty clear at this point that we are looking to move some players on. Reports today that we are terminating the contract of Nicola Pepe because it doesn't look like anyone's going to offer us money, knowing that we'll probably terminate his contract for free and make him a free agent. Charlie Patino, still no news about where he might be going, but of course he's been linked with a move away. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has gone on a free transfer. We do still have players. Like I said, I am going to be doing a video tomorrow about the players that are Arsenal players right now, but unlikely to remain that for longer. I want to say a massive thank you for the huge support over the last couple of days. For a small channel that's just starting out, the number of subscribers, we've got 10% growth in the last day. I'm humbled and thrilled by it. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you've watched this video to this far, do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. Click subscribe, hit like, share this, tell the world. Anyway, until I see you again, be lucky and lots of love.